everybody, Morgan with an Answer here, and today I'm making this adorable balloon wreath just in time for the holiday season. It comes together super quickly and is built all on top of a hula hoop. So follow along and I'll show you how I made it. To make today's wreath, I'm using an assortment of 5-inch balloons. 100 of them are going to be lime green and 8 of them are going to be in red. I'm also going to be using some 260s in red to make the bow and to secure some things, so I'll need about 3 of those. I also have my hand pump and a pair of scissors, and most importantly, I have a hula hoop to build all of this off of. Now mine is 34 inches across, but you could use whatever size you like. You'll just have to adjust how many balloons you may need. The first step is inflating all of our 5-inch balloons to 4 pumps each. Now this is going to make them about 4.5 inches in diameter. The end size isn't totally critical. What's most important is that they're all consistently the same size. So your pump may make them slightly bigger, slightly smaller, but just using a consistent pumping method will give you a nice round wreath. So I'm going to take all of my balloons and tie them into pairs first by wrapping the nozzles around once, twice, and tying those into a knot. Once I've got that pair made, I'm going to make a second one and bring those together into a quad. So I want to make sure the nozzles touch, and I'm going to twist 2 of those balloons together, and that's going to lock them into a quad. I'm going to repeat this process until all of my 5-inch balloons are tied into quads, and I do want to make sure I'm integrating 1 red balloon into some of my quads, and that way I can spread the red around the entire wreath. The final element we need to make for the wreath is the bow, and so I'm using the red 260 here, and I'm going to inflate it so that there's only 1.5 inches tail left uninflated at the end of this balloon. And you may want to practice this a couple times before making your final bow to put on the wreath. If this is your first time making this bow, I highly suggest letting some air out of the balloon to soften it up, and that'll make it a lot easier to twist and reduce your risk of popping the balloon. So I'm going to burp the balloon to let some of that air out and then tie a knot on the end. As I'm making this bow, you'll see me squeeze the balloon down the length of it several times as I twist this, and that's going to soften up the latex and make it more pliable to accept the shape that I want it to be. So I'm going to make a twist at the 7-inch mark on my ruler, and I'm going to hold that twist with my left hand as I measure out 10 inches for the first loop of our bow. At that 10-inch mark, I'm going to pinch the balloon and bring it around to where that first twist is and twist that loop around 4 times, and that's going to lock that loop into place. Now I'm going to lay the balloon down on the ruler again and measure out 10 more inches to make the second loop. So I'm going to lay it down, pinch it at the 10-inch mark, and fold it up and bring that point right back to the center of the balloon and twist it again. With the 2 loops made, this begins to look like a bow, but it's not going to hold its shape. So if I flatten this, it looks really pretty like the bow, but if you let it go, it's going to snap to look like this. So to hold it in place, we're going to need to make a bubble. So I'm going to measure out about 1 inch from that center point, twist a bubble, and take it around the back and push it through the bow. So here's that 1-inch bubble, and I'm going to twist it around 4 times to make it a really secure bubble. And then I'm going to take the balloon up over the top of the bow, around the back, and bring that tail back to where we started, and then put it right through the loop of our bow. And that's going to lock everything in place. Once we've got that tail locked down, we're going to repeat this on the back side. So we want a bubble on the front and a bubble on the back, and that will hold the bow securely in place. So I'm going to flip this over and repeat the exact same steps. So we're going to make a 1-inch bubble, twist it around 4 times, and then we're going to take that tail and go up over the top of the bow, come back around, and we're going to take that twisted section and press it right behind the bubble on the back. Bring that tail right back to where we started and press it through our loop, and that will secure the tail in place again. And so now you'll notice that the tail on one side is quite a bit longer than the tail on the other side. And this is going to give you the flexibility to wrap that tail around something. So if we were making a candy cane and we wanted to tie this in place, that would be where we would use up some of that length. But because we're just going to secure this directly to the wreath, we're going to tie off the balloon so that it matches the length of the tail on the other side. So I'm going to hold the 2 tails right next to each other and put a twist in the long tail so that it measures the exact same length as our first tail. And I'm going to hold that twist with my left hand and just gently nip the very end of that long end of the balloon so that it deflates, and then I'm going to tie that off. So now our tails are going to match up perfectly. I'm just gonna go ahead and clean up my tails by cutting off that long end, as well as the nozzle on the other end of my balloon. To finish off my bow, I'm going to give it a little bit of shape, so I'm going to take both of my tails and press and curl them a little bit, and that just gives them a little bit of motion and makes them seem more realistic. I'm also going to square off the loops that make up my bow, and if you just press on that center point and then pull out with your thumbs, you'll create a stretch point right on that bend, and the balloon will hold that bend, giving you a really cute square bow with the curved tails. And now let's assemble the wreath. So I've hung my hula hoop using one of the 260s, and I've just tied it to a hook that I've got attached to the wall. This is going to give me a little bit of flexibility as I create this wreath, but you could always use some string or fishing line to hang your hula hoop. I'm going to add my first quad to the hula hoop. I'm going to press the hula hoop right between two balloons, making sure the hula hoop is against the nozzles of that quad. And then I'm going to twist the two balloons that we went between together, and that's going to lock the quad around the hula hoop. Now this may lay a little weird because it's the first quad on there, but once we get a couple of them on there, it's going to make a really nice full wreath. So I'm just going to repeat this step by placing my quad over the hula hoop and twisting the balloons together. And then once I got that one on, I'm going to snug it up right next to my first one, making sure I'm alternating my balloons so that the balloons of the current quad nestle between the balloons of the previous quad. And this is going to give you a really nice tight look, and you really shouldn't see that hula hoop between the balloons. As I continue to add quads to the hoop, I want to make sure I'm evenly distributing my red balloons. So I've got 8 quads that have red balloons in them. I'm just going to evenly disperse them throughout the hoop. Some of them are going to be more towards the outside, some are more towards the inside, and I just want to mix this up to give it a natural appearance. Now I've only used 8 red balloons in my wreath, but you could always add more if that's a look you're going for. The final step is adding the bow to the wreath. So I'm going to take my last 260 and wrap it through the center of my bow, and with the tails of that 260, I'm going to wrap it around a figure 8 pattern, some of the lime green balloons in the wreath, and that will secure everything together. You do want to make sure you don't pull this so tightly though that the bow gets sucked between balloons, so just some gentle tension, and this wreath is ready for a party. I hope you were inspired by today's project. Holiday decorating and party decorating do not have to be difficult to have a lot of impact in a space. If you enjoyed today's project, hit that like button and subscribe below. Don't forget to turn on that notification bell so you don't miss any of the future videos I have coming up. I do all kinds of event planning, party setups, decorations, and balloon tutorials just like this one. So until then, you can check out some of my other videos over here. And remember, stay creative. Bye!